people, which makes them a cult, what they will say is Matthew 11:5, if you are persecuted, then somehow they're in God's favor, and that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not doing anything. This is a public forum. Okay?
Please.
And you,
Yeah, I'm the public, and I want you to shut up.
This might get me pilloried as a racist today because in our multicultural thing, but I do believe that there are some cultures are superior and other cultures are inferior as cultures. But I regard that as a Christian as a function of religion, a function of faith, not a function of genetics.
Oh, okay.
So my ancestor, I'm Scottish descent, and my ancestors were the last white men to be civilized, and you know, just a matter of a few centuries ago, my ancestors were painting themselves blue and running naked into battle and conducting human sacrifice, and Northern Europeans were as savage as anything you could find on this planet, just a mere matter of centuries ago. And the thing that transformed that was the gospel, not genetic progress, not evolution. And I think people forget that. They forget the potency of faith. And I believe that if the gospel had gone south to Africa first instead of northwest into Europe, that the results would have been flipped. The results would have been turned around. I accept as a Christian that that there is a difference between cultures, a culture that has embraced the gospel and one that has not. And then when a superior culture collides with one that doesn't have the horsepower, what happens to the inferior culture, militarily, culturally, whatever it is what's currently happening to Iraq. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the American empire, and I'm not a supporter of the war, but that's what happens we're imposing our view of the world on them and co-opting them and making them do it our way. That's what happens when a culture with superior force encounters one that doesn't have that.
Well, you know, that's not really what the Bible says. You know, we talk about how the first 4 centuries of the church, before Constantine came in and kind of, you know, turned the church into a subdivision of the government, how it was pretty much unthinkable for a Christian not to be pacifist. But since then, it's kind of been a patriotic thing, and a Christian, it's difficult right now with our current mix of patriotism and this kind of bushy fundamentalism. Where do you divide that? I think it's really confusing for most people, because most people believe that they want to be both patriotic and they want to be faithful at the same time. Well, you smush all that stuff together and you don't know where to divide things out. And it's been that way since the 4th century. So.
Talk about perpetuating hate. Am I the only one who thinks protests of Christ's Church History Conference has gotten out of hand?
The conference was a way to draw neo-Confederate families from across the country so they can, I quote, take over Moscow. Are you freaking kidding me?
It must make up lies like we are hosting a conference defending slavery. Pure fears, pure opportunism, fear of dialogue.
People here throughout these next couple days trying to provoke something. Don't. If something happens, make sure it's not one of you all that does it. Both campus officials and the Moscow Police Department have been informed to let us know if they're having any problem with any of our attendees. If we have anyone who is actually causing problems on the sidewalk, we will be ejecting you from the conference. Because our noses are very important to keep clean.
we've looked at it from a much broader perspective and have really studied the whole neo-Confederate movement for about 3 years now. And, it seems perfectly obvious that this is kind of the latest manifestation of it. But, the honest truth is that we didn't really understand how important Doug Wilson in particular was to this sort of whole ideological apparatus. I think it's pretty clear that he's a central player in it.
Slavery. It is an issue germane to our discussion. This conference, despite having the appearance of having been foisted upon our proceedings by privileged souls who enjoy the luxury of never allowing facts to interfere with their comfortable and convenient falsehoods.
What are you guys representing? I mean, where are you from?
We're both, Marie and I are history majors, and Naga is a civil engineer, and we're just supporting our professors and their work that they do, and opposing Doug Wilson and his pamphlets that he likes to put out and not receive criticism on.
I don't know how to keep it G-rated. I've been very, very frustrated as a gay Christian to have people tell me that A, I'm not a Christian, and B, I deserve to be stoned after a fair and public trial. I think is bullshit, and I have to let my voice be heard.
Okay, great. What are you hoping to achieve by being out here?
For me, it's my own self-dignity to be out here. For too long, I sat on the sidelines and watched everybody else fight the fight. I need to be out here fighting the fight for myself and for all those people who either don't or won't stand up for themselves.
Well, why did they write this book? For heaven's sakes, it's totally abhorrent. Or what was going on? Why did they try to do this? And our sense is that this is a kind of whitewash of Southern history. All right, there's an agenda here, and it's an interesting agenda if you read kind of the Reconstructionist and neo-Confederate work. They have an agenda of kind of rebuilding a new Jerusalem, ushering in the 1,000-year reign, the millennium. And the South is this kind of promised locus of regeneration, past, present, and future. And in order to kind of make that argument, they need to deny a real kind of enormous historical reality, which is the fact of racial slavery in American society. But they're hoping to kind of find the South as a kind of blueprint for what's going to happen in the future. And for them, there's really two bad periods of the United States history, really bad periods, the 1860s and the 1960s. The 1860s is particularly bad because you have a patriarchal white supremacist society based upon racial slavery being overturned. That's bad. And the second thing is, in the 1960s, you have a white supremacist patriarchal society based upon racial apartheid being overturned. And this is also bad. And the result is, in today's society, the culture war is what they say. It's sodomy, feminism, and abortion. These are their words, And